This message comes from Amazon Pharmacy. Sometimes when you go to pick up a prescription, you can get sick with sticker shock. Amazon Pharmacy has upfront pricing, so the only surprise is how fast your meds will arrive. Healthcare just got less painful. Amazon Pharmacy.
Hello, hello. I'm Brittany Luce, and you're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR, a show about what's going on in culture and why it doesn't happen by accident. Do y'all have your scorecards ready? Do you have your live stream links ready to go? Are you ready to judge the rich and famous? Because tonight, we all get to be fashion critics as celebrities and designers show out at the 2025 Met Gala. And this year, I'm here to give you a guidebook for how to judge the best and worst looks of the night. So every year, the Met Gala has a theme, and every year, some people get it and some people just don't. This year's theme is a special one and a bit complicated. It's called Superfine, Tailoring Black Style, and it's a celebration of the Black dandy. You might already know what a Black dandy is, but if you don't, here's a picture.
It's rooted in like traditional sartorial, like suiting, but then it's also juxtaposed with like someone who's more like peacocky and like more exuberant. It is like a Billy Porter, which is rooted in like this queerness, but then also in like it is Dapper Dan and it is like A$AP Rocky.
And early Janelle Monáe.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
With the tuxedos and the updo and recalling James Brown.
Yes.
Absolutely. In practice, it's all about tailoring and exaggerated or flamboyant takes on menswear. We're talking suits with a twist, top hats, traditional menswear with Black flair. In theory,
dandyism is like an aesthetic, but it's also like a lifestyle of like rebellion and subversion. So it really is such a wide, expansive term.
That's because dandyism is rooted in the very first transgressive fashion statements enslaved Black people made when they first set foot in America. We'll get into that later, but first, fashion writer Shelton Boyd Griffith.
Thank you for having us.
And Black Fashion Fair editor-in-chief Antoine Gregory.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
And I are going to pretend we're dressing up a celebrity for the Met Gala to give you a better picture of the sophistication and swagger of Black dandyism. Let's pretend you're a stylist and you're dressing someone. Pick any celebrity you want. Anybody. Who would you want to dress and how would you style them?
Antoine, you just took my person, so thanks.
Tell it.
Janelle Monáe. I think like styling her is like an homage to like those Black queer women who like subvert like menswear.
Absolutely.
I think for me, I would want to go with someone probably like Stefon Diggs. Because I think he takes so many amazing risks fashion-wise. And I think we would be able to kind of create something that is a bit more flamboyant and a little bit more fun that I think where other people, like in sports and rap, may not take those same risks. I think he's definitely more of a risk taker.
I love that. I love that. Especially, I mean, I feel like Black dandyism shows up so much across how athletes dress. But for me, though, I would absolutely want to dress Queen Latifah.
Oh, yeah.
Queen Latifah is a Tom Brown girly.
Tom Brown queen. Yeah.
Okay, so she's very often wearing something that is structured and kind of referencing menswear anyway. I just feel like Queen Latifah would really be it in a full tuxedo with the
She
tails.
would body that.
I feel like now that she was at Coachella, I'm like, maybe she'll actually be out and about and want to mix with us. Because she doesn't have to.
That's a good one.
I think to that same point, like Missy Elliott.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine Missy.
Yeah.
So good. Let's talk Met Gala themes for a second. This year, it's Black dandyism. In the past, it's been punk or camp or something called Heavenly Bodies, which is a celebration of the aesthetics of the Catholic Church, which I'll admit, I love that one. But no matter the theme, the thing is, sometimes people on the red carpet get it, and sometimes people don't. I'd say Kim Kardashian actually gets it about 30 to 50% of the time. Now, I did think that she did good, though, with the camp year when she did the full water drop thing. I thought that was
incredible.
That was beautiful, the Mugler. I think that a lot of people like confuse the theme of the exhibition and the dress code And I don't think that they lean into like the inspiration of the exhibition.
Right, because for people who don't know, the Met Gala is tied to an annual exhibition at the Met Museum.
You know, when people are looking to get dressed up, they want to get dressed up how they want. They're like, this is a nice event. Do I really care about the brief?
They want to look good. They want to look like their definition of what's good as opposed to...
I want to wear my, my gown. My beautiful gown.
It's mainly the men. The men will be in their black and white tuxes, which is a bit boring because there's so much fun in menswear now.
Okay, so I'm wondering though, with this theme, do you think that Black dandyism is something that people are going to know how to interpret? And why or why don't you think so?
I mean, I do. I think because at its core, it's Black people wearing well-structured tailored suits. To me, it's going to be very difficult to get this wrong. But it's going to be even more difficult to pull a really incredible look. Yeah. I think people are going to have to be a bit more expressive, take more risk, do the top hats, do the canes, do feathers, do whatever you need to do to really accentuate the costume.
Well, I will say, I feel like Vogue has been very intentional about explaining the theme. Like when it was announced last year, some people, I myself was like, oh, we'll see how this goes. Because sometimes when people want to interpret Black style, they get a little too creative. And also this time around, they have not just their chairs, who are chairing the event, they also have a hosting committee. I get the feeling that they really want people to understand the theme, maybe even just for plausible deniability in case Kim Kardashian comes through with the do-rag. They could just be like, listen now, we didn't say to do that. You decided to do that. We'll see who gets the theme right. And tomorrow, we'll be back in this feed with a special bonus episode rating the best and worst looks of the night. But ahead of the event, I want to get more into the history of the theme, especially with how it relates to this moment. This, after all, is the very first Met Gala theme that explicitly celebrates Black fashion. It's been decades of Black people topping the best dress list, and now fashion's biggest night is recognizing Black contributions to fashion. What do you all make of the Costume Institute highlighting a Black fashion lineage in this moment when diversity and inclusion are on the outs?
For me personally, it's a double-edged sword. I think on one hand, it's this beautiful moment of centering Black expression. It's not just about Black style. It's about the history of Blackness and history of the diaspora. And some of that is ugly. It is chattel slavery. It is Jim Crow. It is everything that this administration is trying to erase, but it's presented in this beautiful way. Obviously, this was planned before the administration, overhaul of DEI. But I think that it existing now is really important. But then on the other hand, I think I was talking to some colleagues about 2020, how there was this huge push for let's get someone Black, let's have this focus on Black designers. Now so much of that support and that exposure is kind of missing. So I don't want this just to be a moment and then we go back to regularly scheduled programming.
That's something that's been in the back of my mind as well. We're kind of still having these same conversations over and over again within the fashion industry. I have had similarly mixed feelings myself where I'm excited to see someone like Dapper Dan be able to get the spotlight on him. Somebody who was thought of as an enemy to a brand like Louis Vuitton 40 years ago, now be featured at this event that's sponsored by Louis Vuitton. But even the tension of that to me is kind of, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, this big brand still gets to profit from the association with this person whose work they did spend some time trying to suppress decades ago. I
am interested in seeing how Black designers are represented on the carpet and if they are at all. When I think of just all the incredible work that we've done, we still haven't been able to take ownership over it. We still have to be an accessory to a white institution. So as incredible as this is, it's what can we do to regain some type of ownership over the work that we're creating in our creative production as people.
Coming up, Antoine Shelton and I are looking at the history the Met Gala theme is pulling from quote-unquote luxury slaves all the way up to the most powerful people at Vogue magazine. Stick around.
This message comes from Thuma. Create your oasis with Thuma, a modern design company that specializes in furniture and home goods. By stripping away everything but the essential, Thuma makes elevated beds with premium materials and intentional details. With clean lines, subtle curves, and minimalist style, the Thuma bed collection is available in 4 signature finishes to match any design aesthetic. To get $100 towards your first bed purchase, go to thuma.co/NPR. This message comes from ProFlowers. Mother's Day is coming up, so let ProFlowers help you celebrate the incredible women in your life. Shop modern bouquets at affordable prices. Visit proflowers.com/NPR for $15 off your ProFlowers Mother's Day gift.
This message comes from BetterHelp. Therapy can be expensive, but at BetterHelp, they believe therapy should feel accessible, not like a luxury, which is why they offer quality care at a price that makes sense and can help you with anything from anxiety to everyday stress. Your mental health is worth it, and now it's within reach. Visit BetterHelp.com/NPR to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/NPR.
This message comes from Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile took what's wrong with wireless and made it right. They offer premium wireless plans for less, and all plans include high-speed data, unlimited talk and text, and nationwide coverage. See for yourself at mintmobile.com/switch.
Okay, so Monica L. Miller is one of the co-curators of the exhibit at the Met, and she wrote this book about the history of Black dandyism. It's called Slaves to Fashion, and in it she talks about, quote, luxury slaves. Some enslavers treated the young Black boys that they enslaved like pets or accessories and dressed them in fancy clothes. And you can see this in old portraiture featured in the book. As Miller puts it, these boys were, quote, luxury items collected like any other signifier of wealth and status. And on days they were allowed to dress up, some enslaved people would mend or adorn their own clothing with flair. You know, sometimes they had these very fashion-forward looks with the clothes they were given, or would, quote, borrow from their enslavers. You know, this was one of the only ways enslaved people could express their individuality and bodily autonomy, and even despite some states' sumptuary laws that limited what Black people could wear or how they could style themselves. Now, that's the starting point for Black dandyism and really Black style, Black fashion in America. How do you see that reaching all the way into this moment in fashion?
I mean, I think it started as something that was a performance that we as people were placed in. And now it's something that we decide and declare over ourselves how we look, how we dress. And it's no longer a performance in that way, but it's more of a declaration of identity.
I agree. It was rooted in like this rebellion. And then that same concept like carried on through Jim Crow and then carried on to now. And it's like it's freedom of expression, of identity, you know, ownership of like how you present to the world.
I think Andre Leon Talley makes a really great point about that in his memoir.
Andre Leon Talley, for those who don't know, worked at Vogue from 1983 to 2013 and eventually became an editor-at-large for the magazine.
He talks about like not being born as an aristocrat, right? But if you want to do that and you want to live that life, great taste and great style and being a person of culture is not something that you need to be born into. It's something that you can create for yourself. And I think he is a prime example of someone who came from the Jim Crow South, who studied French architecture, went to Paris, could speak fluent French. It was like one of the greatest dandies we've ever known, but he decided all that for himself. And he came from somewhere where every day he was told that's not who he was. And I think working in fashion, it was more of that, like, you don't belong here. But he decided that I do belong here and I'm going to do the work and you guys are going to remember me. And I'm going to be the most educated person in the room. I'm going to be the most tasteful person in the room. I'm going to be the biggest person in the room. And I think that really comes from that type of just like choosing the identity and not letting it be chosen for us.
And Monica L. Miller talks about this, how the foundation of dandyism is less about following trends and more about self-education, having a deeper knowledge of styles and textiles and culture. And Miller also writes, better clothing allowed them to pass more easily for free men and to enter the market as consumers, meaning that enslaved people could sell or trade their clothing using it like financial currency or social currency. And that's something that still exists. It's still a part of the language of how Black people dress today. And it's very literally the kind of thing that Andre Leon Talley was talking about in both of his memoirs, like using this self-education, this refinement and style of dress as a means of accessing a different life than the one that he was born into.
I think also, like, touching to Monica's point in the book, these different, like, forms of, like, how Black people, like, use dress. Like, Black folks deal with respectability politics and putting on a suit and, like, that whole concept of that and how we've used that as, like, a shield.
That really has not changed because those are the same things that we deal with today. When it comes to suiting, like, I have such a hard, like, relationship with it because, like, I always feel like I'm forced to do this. Like, it's not fun for me to put on a suit. It feels like I'm forced to do something that I don't want to do. I think it's because of, like, well, I'm not going to be respected if I don't wear this suit.
But that's one of the things I've always appreciated about Antoine's, like, style. It's like you're wearing, like, this full Martine Rose suit, but then, like, you're wearing your do-rag. It's a subversion of, like, those things.
I'll wear do-rag wherever I go, but, like, this is still a very new thing for me where it's like 5 years ago, I would not have done this because I wouldn't be taken seriously.
Like, to Antoine's point, I would have never worn my afro, like, years ago. Or, like, my braids or, like, in traditional, like, fashion settings. So we're still dealing with these same things that, like, we've been dealing since the 18th century on through Jim Crow to the 80s to now.
You know, bringing things back to the present, this exhibition is coming at a time when Black men have reached some of the highest levels in the fashion world. You know, I think about the legacy of the late Virgil Abloh and Pharrell Williams, you know, who has brought, I mean, he's something of a Black dandy himself and has brought that Black dandyism styling to a new generation, you know, as, you know, the head of Louis Vuitton and Louis Vuitton also co-sponsored this event. I know my answer for this question, but do you think the fashion world has embraced Black men truly? Like, is it a full embrace, a hug, or handshake?
It's a performative handshake. Because, I mean, fundamentally, it's a performance.
It's a performance. And we continue to be fashion's greatest accessories.
All right, one last question for y'all, just for fun. Who do you hope shows up at the Met Gala? And who do you hope stays home? Just to be a little shady. Just to be a little shady.
That is hilarious.
That is shady.
Has Andre 3000 been in recent years?
Yeah. Not in recent years, I don't think.
I would love it if Big Boy was there too. And they're about to be like inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I just would love to see the two of them together.
Yeah, I would love to see like an Outcast moment too.
You know who I want to see? I want to see Mahershala Ali. I just feel like that man's face was made for a beautiful hat. Every time he wears a hat, I feel like a tear, like an angel just cries because it's so beautiful.
Yeah, when he was wearing like those essential hats, like those are beautiful.
Beautiful.
I would love people show up in essential hats.
I wore one for my wedding.
Ooh.
When I could wear hats, you know.
Before the afro.
Before the afro.
Well, we will see. We will see. And actually, we will all be back tomorrow to review the best and worst looks of the gala. Y'all are going to be able to fully celebrate and judge who did that. And for y'all listening, be sure to check out this feed tomorrow for this extra special bonus episode. And Shelton, Antoine, thank you both so much for getting into all of this with me.
Thank you for having us.
I'm so excited. Tomorrow's going to be great.
Great. That was fashion writer Shelton Boyd Griffith and Black Fashion Fair editor-in-chief Antoine Gregory talking about what to watch for at the 2025 Met Gala. This episode of It's Been a Minute was produced by
Barton Girdwood.
This episode was edited by
Nina Patak.
Our executive producer is
Verilyn Williams.
Our VP of programming is
Yolanda Sanguini.
All right, that's all for this episode of It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce. Talk soon.
This message comes from NPR sponsor Vuori, featuring the Core Short. Receive 20% off your first purchase on any U.S. orders over $75 and free returns at vuori.com/NPR. Exclusions apply. Visit the website for full terms and conditions.
This message comes from Warby Parker, prescription eyewear that's expertly crafted and unexpectedly affordable. Glasses designed in-house from premium materials starting at just $95, including prescription lenses. Stop by a Warby Parker store near you. This message comes from Bombas. Nearly 30% of marathoners end their race blistered. Bombas running socks are strategically cushioned to help say bye to blisters. Run to bombas.com/NPR and use code NPR for 20% off your first purchase.